Ryan, what are your plans with defensive coordinator? I know you're probably not going to make any grand proclamations right now, but what are your general plans with defensive coordinator?
Yeah, I mean, as we head into this bowl time right now, in recruiting is like crazy. So we're focused on that. We're focused on these guys. We're focused on the bowl game right now, and that's really where our focus is right now.
With the transfer portal, not just guys leaving, I want to focus on guys that you might be bringing in. Not specific names, obviously. What are some positions you're targeting? How many guys might you bring in? Just in generality, what can you speak about that?
I mean, there's so many guys who are in the portal right now. It's mind-boggling, and I think everyone's just astonished by what's been going on, and certainly I'm one of them. But you have to take in the dynamics of your team into consideration, and so we're doing that, and we're not just going to be flippant about those decisions. And I think your team and the chemistry of your team is something that we have to really be on top of, because all it takes is a couple guys, and now you can get yourself out of whack. Because when we recruit young men, we bring them in to develop them, and we talk to them about what it's going to be like when they get here and developing them into really good players. And bringing guys in can kind of upset that, and we don't really want to do that unless we need to. There's certain needs. We've done that before here, right? We had Justin come in, and that was the right thing at the right time. Jonah Jackson was the right thing at the right time. Trey Sermon was the right thing at the right time. And so I think we've been really smart about that. Noah Ruggles worked out well. So really, that's not something that we count on, but it's something that we'll use when we need to. And we're evaluating all those guys that are in the portal, even though there's a lot of them right now. And we'll just kind of see how things shake out here.
Coach, what have the last few days been like for you guys in terms of dealing with the emotions of the frustrating end of the season, but also trying to quickly recognize the window of recruiting and rally guys to still want to be a part of this thing moving forward?
Yeah, I think all of our guys have a lot of pride in themselves and a lot of pride in this team, and there's been a lot of hard work and a lot of progress that was made all year from when we started this thing. And so we want to finish this thing the right way. We have a really good opponent in Utah, great bowl in the Rose Bowl, and so we want to have a great month. And so we've kind of let them, get healthy. We had a lot of guys sick here the last couple of weeks, and so we're getting those guys healthy again. We worked out a little bit last week. We're going to do that again this week, and then start our practice. And it's really in 3 phases. We're going to start on fundamentals, then we'll get into game planning, and then we'll get to the bowl site, and we'll have game week there. And that's really what the focus is on right now. I think there's a lot of lessons that have been learned from the last game, and that'll obviously motivate us moving forward. But right now the focus is on this Rose Bowl and sending out the seniors in the right way, and I know everybody in the program wants to do that.
College football playoff era, there's so much focus on being one of the top 4 teams and getting in the playoff. I know that's your goal. At the same time, playing in the Rose Bowl is a big deal. What's the tenor of the locker room right now from those guys understanding at least the opportunity they have in front of them is still a special one?
Well, I think that's exactly what you said. I think the goal here is to win championships, and that's a goal that we have year in and year out, and we didn't reach that goal. However, we have an opportunity to go play in a very tradition-rich Rose Bowl, and that means a lot. And it's a New Year's Six bowl. And the 16th time, I believe, Ohio State's been in the Rose Bowl, so there's a lot of tradition that's led up to that. And I know that our guys are going to want to play hard and win that game.
Front row right, Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Ryan, when Quinn told you guys that he was going to go into the portal last week, what was your reaction to that? Were you surprised? What were your just feelings on that?
Well, I think he was in a very unique situation for sure. And we wish him nothing but the best of luck moving forward. But boy, there's just a lot that's going on right now in college football with a lot of this stuff, whether it's early enrollees or the transfer portal and those type of things. And we're just going to do the best we can to try to adapt as time moves on. But we certainly wish him nothing but the best of luck.
In a situation like that, do you preach patience? How do you communicate with a player who's in that situation like Quinn?
Well, you try to do the best you can on the front end of explaining exactly what is going to happen, and then do the best you can of communicating and following through with it. And then, but things change, and you have to adapt.
You've had 2 quarterbacks now in the portal in the last week. Do you have a set number of scholarship guys you want to have on your roster for next year?
Yeah, we always want to have either 3 or 4. That's always been the case, but it's not always that easy, as you remember. When Dwayne was here and when Justin was here. I mean, some of those years we had 2, sometimes 3, and a lot of guys want to play, and I get it. So again, we'll just try to do the best we can to forecast it, and we feel really good about the guys we have on our roster right now.
Third row left, Dan Holt, 11 Warriors.
Ryan, you guys, we're pretty much dominated at the line of scrimmage in the Michigan game. Does that force you to kind of reconsider your philosophy at all and put more of an emphasis on winning in the trenches?
Well, I mean, our goal every game is to win the line of scrimmage, is to run the football and be physical and play great defense. So, we'll continue that. I think this bowl practice we'll have an opportunity to get back out there and really emphasize pad level and hand placement. But every time, certainly we go on the road, it's very important in this conference. But every time we play a game, the major focus is on running the football and stopping the run.
Josh Gaddis was on the radio last week. He said, you guys are a finesse team. You're not a tough team. What do you think when you hear something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think much about that at all.
You mentioned you had a lot of players sick. Did that affect your game plan at all going into that Michigan game?
No, I mean, it was real. But, no one, it doesn't really matter. You got to overcome it. And it didn't affect the game plan at all, but it's just something you have to overcome.
Front row right, Austin Ward, Letterman row.
I know you guys just found out, officially 40 minutes ago where you're going, and everyone wants to look ahead and say, well, how motivated will Ohio State be for this game? Will they have a bunch of opt-outs? What is your sense of that as you just stand here right now? I know it's a long month.
Well, yeah, it's a long month, but I think our guys are very, very competitive, and they take a lot of pride in who they are in this team, and so, we're going to get right to work here this week and start grinding towards it and work towards the game and play really good in the game, again, I just think it has a lot to do with the pride that they have in this team and who they are.
If you have situations like an opt-out, I know that's another one of the new sort of dynamics of the bowl era, playoff era. How would you want to handle that? Do you need to know early, get decisions? How will that work this month?
Yeah, we'll deal with that on a individual basis, based on how it all shakes out. But right now, counting on everybody to play in the game.
Front row left, Bill Landis, The Athletic.
Ryan, I know you said you're focused on this bowl prep here, but the nature of the coaching business is such that I don't think you can probably stand pat and wait and focus on that if you're looking to bring in somebody new. So is it your intention to bring in a defensive coordinator from the outside, and how do you plan on handling that yourself as your team tries to get ready to play in the game?
Yeah, like I said, we're gonna do the best we can. I mean, we're always gonna be evaluating and seeing what's the best to move forward, and if there's any updates on that, I'll let you guys know.
Have any? You said no players have indicated to you yet that they're going to not play in this game, correct?
Right.
Okay. And then another guy that went in the portal, Craig Young, we've talked about him a few times this year. It did seem like he was maybe poised for a role this year that never kind of materialized until very late. Just how do you think that was kind of managed with him, and I guess like what the discussions I guess were with him about making that decision to leave the program?
Yeah, I think Craig felt like he just wanted of an opportunity to play more, and so I think that's probably common with some of the guys who have decided across the country. I know at one point it was like 80 guys a day averaged in the portal, which is unbelievable. But I think he just wanted an opportunity to play more, and so again, wish him nothing but the best of luck. Certainly, we don't like to see guys leave, but understand that unfortunately this is becoming somewhat of the norm. And as coaches, it's kind of hard sometimes, but we're going to have to kind of adapt and move forward.
Right next door, Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
Right, obviously there's a lot of player movement, but there's also a lot of coaching movement this year that kind of changes some things. When there's this much of coaching movement, how does that maybe change, or does it at all change, I guess, the recruiting philosophy and the way you guys approach things here? You're going to have to press the reset button a little bit as far as where you want to attack.
In terms of recruiting? Yeah, I mean, we try to talk to our guys all the time about, to make sure you pick the school for the right reasons, and then there's a lot of guys out there whose coaches have moved around a little bit, and so maybe there's some of those guys that'll reconsider and consider other options. Maybe there's going to be more guys that don't sign on the early signing date. That might be part of it as well. And for the guys that we had been recruiting early on that maybe decided to go in another direction, those are the ones that you can kind of grab onto a little bit because you have a relationship prior. The ones that you don't have a relationship with, it's a little harder to kind of get that built up in a short period of time. However, we're going to kind of look at all those things, and when you can bring people in and you can do some home visits and things like we're back on the road doing again, you can make up time right there.
Do you feel like if there are going to be changes, especially on the defensive side of the ball, do you feel like you need to have that in place with signing day maybe around the corner, and there are some defensive guys who are still kind of considering you guys?
Well, I think, again, the guys that we're recruiting right now, they feel really strong about Ohio State. I think they feel like this is where they want to be, and for a lot of reasons. And so I feel really good about our class right now. We're still going to look at a few more guys and see if there's some guys we can add to it, and then kind of go from there. And then in January, I think that's more of the 2023 class, and that's where the focus goes there, is that we make that transition.
Right side aisle, Adam King, WBNS 10 TV.
Coach, this is your first selection Sunday as a head coach, not seeing the name pop up on the screen. How much, you talk about the players, and how much does that kind of motivate you as a coach right now for next year?
Well, I don't need any more motivation, but certainly disappointing not to see, ourselves in the top 4 like that. That's our goal as we head into every year. And it's been a tough week for us. But, you can only feel sorry for yourself for so long. You got to move on. You got to get back to work, and that's what we're going to do.
Compared to maybe other losses so far since you've been the head coach, how different was Saturday's loss? How much has it lingered? How's it kind of been around the league?
Yeah, it's tough. The rivalry game is the rivalry game for a reason, and it means a lot to a lot of people. So when you don't win, there's a tremendous amount of pain, and nobody knows that more than the players and the coaches here. And hard to swallow. You can't just move on after one day. It just doesn't work that way. Like I said in the post game press conference, it's going to leave a mark, and we knew that, and it's gonna hurt for a while.
Right next door, Clay Hall, WSYX.
Ryan, did Ewers' decision blindside you? Did he just come to the realization he wasn't going to hop over CJ, or how did he express that, if you can share?
Yeah, I'd rather not get into too many of the details, but yeah, kind of caught me a little bit for sure. Yeah, a little bit off guard.
And front row middle, Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com.
Kind of following up on that idea, like when you started this process, you were upfront about, everyone was going in eyes wide open about how departures would happen. Has the ground shifted at all? Just because when you started that, you didn't have NIL, you didn't have immediate eligibility for the first-time transfers. Does that shake it up a little bit, and will it shake up how you have to approach this going forward?
Yeah, I think when you look at the landscape of college football in general over the last year, 2 years, boy, it's really changed, and it's continuing to change. And so there's just a lot of dynamics at play in all this stuff: roster management, recruiting, portal, and that's, as we move forward, just trying to navigate what that looks like on a year in and year out basis. And when you look at the numbers statistically of the people who are going into the portal and going to other schools, it's significant. And so we have to adapt, and we'll keep identifying and evaluating and figure out what's best for us.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
You said that there were like hard lessons learned from the Michigan game. I guess just what immediately comes to your mind is like the thing that has to be corrected now with just a few weeks before the next game?
Well, I think there's some things that we'll get into certainly, down the road, but just like immediately, we've got to obviously do a better job stopping the run and running the football. That's, the number one thing that you recognize. And, we weren't able to get some stops really in the second half. And, I think if we had, it would have been a different game.
Fourth row middle, Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Ryan, you've been asked about motivation for the Rose Bowl. I imagine Utah's press conference, there's not a lot of questions about that for them. They're excited to play Ohio State. How do you get these guys to the level of your normal game prep, given that this is certainly not what you wanted, as you said?
Well, I think it goes back to the leaders of the units, to the position coaches, to everybody involved with it, to understand that when you play in a Rose Bowl, I mean it matters, and it's a very, very important game, and we take a lot of pride in who we are, and that's really what it comes down to. And so again, when your leaders are leading the way that way and they understand how important this is, and then for the young guys, this is an opportunity to catapult them into next year. And so I think, everyone's hurting from the last game. This is an opportunity to kind of change that feeling a little bit.
And you've talked about coaching Michigan, all these things you get to do as Ohio State's head coach. Being a head coach in the Rose Bowl, what does that mean to you?
Well, it's a tradition rich bowl game, and there's so many great people that have played in that game, and certainly a ton of coaches that have coached in that game, and so it's always an honor to be a part of something like that.
Third row right, Jeremy Birmingham, Letterman row.
Hey, Ryan, obviously, this is the first time since you've been here that you go into this week, or last week, I guess, after a loss. I mean, how did that change the conversations on the recruiting trail? Does it change your focus and what you have to tell kids? I mean, just interested in the back and forth that comes from that.
No, I think the recruits and their family have been great. I mean, they know what this is all about. They know about our culture. They understand, what a great program we have, and they love it, and they love everything about it. And so, there are teams across the country who will win and lose games, and they, kind of move on. Here at Ohio State, when you lose a game like that, it hurts for a while. And so, I think they want to play in a program where games like that matter, and they're playing for everything. The consequences are high. That's just the way that it is here at Ohio State. And I think that they can recognize that. They understand that. And I think that's one of the biggest things that attracts a lot of these guys to come into to be a Buckeye.
Are you able to turn, and not to turn the loss into a silver lining, but you haven't had that extra week of recruiting in 5 years.
Right.
I mean, is that something that you guys think can be a benefit to you now that even though you have to do it in a loss?
Yeah, I certainly don't want to be on the road that week, but it does allow us more time to get out there and be around some of the families. And being 2 years since we really, I've been on the road, and these guys have been on the road. It's hard. It hasn't been easy. So, we're continually working towards building those relationships, getting back into high schools, and it's amazing how long it's been. And so it's good to get back out there and see these people.
Second row left, Steve Hellwagen, 24/7 Sports.
Yeah, Coach, I presume the handwriting was on the wall with the Rose Bowl, and did you watch the game Friday night? And they did a number on Oregon for the second time in 2 weeks. Just what do you see with Utah? It looks like they're a hard physical team that's going to come to play.
Yeah, I did not see the game, and I have not really watched much film on them. But I know Coach Whittingham's a very, very good coach, and like you said, known for being strong and being powerful in the run game and playing really good defense. So looking forward to getting on the film and seeing where we go.
You touched on the portal a little bit. Just watching your team play this year, you tried to benefit yourself with EA, Mate Ote this past year, and the kid who went to Alabama as well. You guys are kind of messing with him a little bit. Do you see, would that be a glaring need for you to find somebody, an experienced linebacker who could come in and participate right away if you were to dip your toe into the portal?
Well, I think we're looking at all those positions to figure out what would make sense. Is it to add a guy through recruiting in the high school, process, or is it the portal? And we'll look at all those positions. We were a little thin at linebacker at times this year, and be maybe a little bit thin moving forward. So we got to make sure we bolster up that room. But that's the thing at all positions you try to figure out. Is it, again, do you bring in a young high school guy that you want to develop, or do you bring in a portal guy who's maybe a little bit older? But there's a lot of things to consider, and that's what I was mentioning early, is just the dynamic of the room and the chemistry of the team.
Middle back, Whitney Harding, WCMH.
Hey, Ryan. Still an Ohio team in the playoff. When you talk about the change of the landscape of college football, what does it mean, what Luke Fickell has done at Cincinnati, and for them to get in, the goalpost just kept moving, and they kept reaching? What does it mean?
Well, I think they've done a great job, and nothing but a tremendous amount of respect for what they've done, and congratulations to them. It's not easy to go that far undefeated, and to bring that week in and week out is tremendous, and wish them nothing but the best of luck in the playoff.
You also mentioned some of the guys using these practices to look ahead to next year. How critical are some of these practices, not just getting ready for the Rose Bowl, but developing and doing those things that you guys haven't really gotten to do as much the last couple of years?
Yeah, it's really important. And we just got off with a team meeting at 2:45. We just grabbed them on a Zoom call just real quickly to talk a little bit about the Rose Bowl and talk about how important these practices are going to be. for a lot of reasons, to kind of rebite for some of the old guys to get ready to play in this game, but then also for the younger guys to continually develop. And so we're going to do a really, really good job over the next couple of weeks of digging into those practices and making sure every practice counts as we head into this game week. Yeah.